live. It is Saturday evening, um, almost 5:30, just after 5:20, thereabouts, close enough. And this evening, I'm going to, as goes my title, just a yogi, reading about ducks. And this is from last May 30th, actually, 2023. And it is, well, I'm always hesitant to say what something's about. Um, on the surface, it's about ducks. On a deeper level, it's about ducks. Um, Sometimes, the surface and the depth are actually the same. We'll see. We'll start reading in just a minute, and then we'll see where it leads to. You guys can let me know what you think it's about. And of course, it's going to be about the mallard. All right, here goes. Of all the animals I see each morning, even when I'm fortunate and catch sight of the rare, secretive ones, it's ducks that it's ducks that are perhaps most beloved by me. They're common to my neighborhood pond, familiar my entire life, and yet never overlooked, always a deep love for this fascinating bird. This is the mallard, perhaps the most recognizable duck in the world. The breeding male offers a beautiful show of color, bright green heads with a ring of white at the base of their neck. Females and non-breeding males, females and non-breeding males bring no less lovely, though not as brightly shown, more subtle, a tone that seems to match the water of their home, and yet still displays a unique blue spectrum that's visible in flight. It's this vulnerability that most affects me, that they are easy prey for so many animals that are near, even ones that seem less likely to be a threat, such as the green and blue herons, crows, and a few fish that pose a threat as well. For several weeks after breeding season, they are flightless, having shed their flight feathers, more vulnerable than ever now, and retreating to secretive locations until their ability to fly is recovered. A mallard's life is never easy, seldom safe, and the predation-avoidance behavior of sleeping with one eye open, of resting specific brain hemisphere, while the other side is awake and watchful, was first demonstrated by mallards. Ducks have managed to make full use of their brain in order to survive. And yet the mallard lives fearlessly in an environment that offers every reason to be afraid. They are restful in their waters, strong flyers, and have a unique ability to thrive given all the dangers found at hand. Mallards teach me the strength of vulnerability, that to be truly fearless is not a single act of courage, but a life lived with a sure and certain grace found through this awareness, being strong exactly as I am right now, without need of pretending that I am anything other than vulnerable as well. Mallards are my spirit guide for courage and true strength. Continuously showing me the way through vulnerability is to simply be myself, without a false show of strength, no pretense of being anything other than afraid at times. These are the birds that tug my heartstrings, invoking my protective urge, even as they teach me courage. Through their vulnerability, I am shown the way of fearless living. That is ducks. We'll go through this a little more slowly this time. As most can tell by now, I am not a great public reader. I feel that I do okay freewheeling things. I'm not afraid to make mistakes when I'm just speaking of whatever. But when I read my own stuff, I try to be a little more precise, and I think that gives me trouble. Hey, my friend Burpees Bandit is here. I love ducks. I also like chasing them. LOL. The web feed are so cool. You did not know about their brains when sleeping, Eric. Would you get yourself a pet duck? I wouldn't get myself a pet duck. I love things in the wild, and I don't want anything to be a pet. I have 2 cats. I grew up with dogs. I am part. Um, I have a dog in my family now. Doesn't live with me, but I see her pretty much every day, um, and have since she was a puppy. She's my family. Um, but that's family, and I believe a duck could be a family, but I just love seeing ducks in the wild. Um, Ducks and geese have always sort of signified that wildness for me. When I hear them flying overhead, um, it just sort of invokes that wild streak. Bandit says, yeah, wild and free is best. I hate zoos. I dislike zoos as well, um, especially seeing the animals in zoos in China. Um, yeah, I remember enjoying zoos when I was a child, but when I began to think of things on my own, drawing my own opinions, um, I couldn't do the whole zoo scene any longer. Um, so reading through this a little more slowly, not the whole thing, but ducks are such a familiar animal. They're found all over the world. Um, Even the mallard is known across the world. A brightly colored bird. The greenhead. Actually, the thing with the greenhead doesn't happen all the time. It's part of the mating ritual that the head turns that bright, bright, bright green. So just to assume that those are the males and every other one is a female isn't always a correct assumption. Um, and we sort of overlook the females sometimes, but they are no less lovely, as I mentioned, although not as brightly shown, more subtle, a tone that seems to match the water of the home, and yet still displays a unique blue spectrum that's visible in flight. And quite often I use the word vulnerability here, beginning with it's their vulnerability that most affects me, that they are easy prey for so many animals that are near, even the ones that seem less likely to be a threat, such as blue and green herons. And I love herons, crows, and I love crows, and a few fish that pose a threat as well. So they live in a constant danger zone, and yet they thrive. They seem at peace. They seem serene, duck-like, Zen duck. And for several weeks after breeding season, they are flightless, having shed their flight feathers, more vulnerable than ever now, and retreating to secretive locations until their ability to fly is recovered. If you see, very often the little clips that I'm posting as shorts of the ducks, some of the ones are in the woods because they're looking for that secretive location. Breeding season is over, but now they're going to be laying the eggs. A mallard's life is never easy, seldom safe, and the predation-avoidance behavior of sleeping with one eye open, that's the scientific term, which is why I can't pronounce it, resting a specific brain hemisphere while the other is awake and watchful was first demonstrated by mallards. An absolutely amazing ability when you think about it. That one side of the brain is at rest, sleeping, and the other side is watchful, aware, fully awake. Imagine if we had that ability. So we look at ducks. Ducks have managed to make full use of their brain in order to survive. How many of us can say the same thing? Hey, my new friend Savage Batman is here. Savage Batman, how are you? And then continuing, And yet the mallard lives fearlessly in an environment that offers every reason to be afraid. They are restful in their waters, strong flyers, and have a unique ability to thrive, given all the dangers found at hand. So I keep revisiting the theme vulnerability, and how many of us live fearlessly? And we have generally speaking, a much safer environment than a mallard does, than a duck does. They have every reason to be afraid, and yet they are restful in their waters. How many of us are restful in our waters? Something to consider. What if we could be at rest in those fearful waters? Nothing is ever a given. Nothing is ever can be assumed that we are going to survive the next day, let alone the next moment. Um, and it seems that for a lot of us, the means of navigating through those fearful waters is to ignore it. But what if we embraced it? If we're not guaranteed everything, then everything that appears right now is a gift from mystery, magic, to be truly appreciated. Means that we live in a little more of a humbled life. Batman says that he's good. How are you? I'm doing pretty well. Thank you. Brian Lane says, what the name of this live? I'm reading about ducks, Brian. Um, it says, I hope you all be having a great day. My day's almost over. Just over an hour from now, I'll actually be going to bed soon. I'll be up, because we lose an hour, I'll be up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, from a shamanism point of view, mallards teach me the strength of vulnerability, that to be truly fearless is not a single act of courage, but a life lived with a sure and certain grace, found only through this awareness that being strong exactly as I am right now, without need of pretending that I am anything other than vulnerable as well. Again, man, if I committed to that, if we all committed to that, just being ourselves, that it's okay to be afraid, that a true act of courage is to be afraid, is to be vulnerable, and yet still show up for life every single day, just being ourselves. We don't need to front anything. We don't need to put on a show. We don't need to demonstrate constantly our strength, because we're assured in who we are. Savage Batman says, I'd like to share the stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. These are short ones when I read from my blog. Just I read and then talk about it just a bit. Let's see. Brian says, oh, that's right. I got up at 1:30 and did 54 pumps. I couldn't sleep well. It's a good way to get some reps in. So he got his 2 workouts in today. Hey, and my friend the Jay Jordan, the great Jay Jordan, is here. I'm doing well. Thank you. I hope you are too. You put in some big reps today. So I ended it with, and again, this is from a shamanism point of view, a shamanic journey into the world of ducks, that mallards are my spirit guide for courage and true strength. Continuously showing me the way through vulnerability is to simply be myself without a false show of strength, nor pretense of being anything other than afraid at times. These are the birds that tug my heartstrings, invoking my protective urge, even as they teach me courage. Through their vulnerability, I am shown the way of fearless living. That's, I'm actually glad that I have the Jay Jordan here. I'm actually glad that I have in here. These are 2 people who are willing to show their vulnerability and demonstrate to me and demonstrate to YouTube, demonstrate to the world how strong they really are. They're unafraid to be themselves. both have inspired me. The reason I have this channel, the reason why I'm doing this live talk right now, the reason why I'm reading my own words about ducks, of all things, um, to a large extent has to do with the Jay Jordan. Because he's a gifted artist, but when you see him practicing, he's unafraid to practice, make mistakes. To me, that's amazing. How many artists want to show that side? So he's teaching true strength through vulnerability. So my spirit guides are mallards, ducks, and the Jay Jordan. Jay Jordan says, thank you for the kind words. You're welcome, and thank you for the inspiration. And it's the same with, oh, Brian, I'm sorry, I thought you might have known the Jay Jordan. Honestly, when he pops in, I just assume everyone knows the Jay Jordan. Definitely check out his channel. He puts in the reps. And the Jay, Brian, is a up and comer in the YouTube world and the burpees world, as well as sharing his journey, his story. And it's an amazing story. You both have amazing stories. So I really enjoyed reading about ducks. I actually enjoyed when I wrote this, and again, it was a year ago. I researched a little bit about ducks. And what I did was a drumming session where I listened to a shamanic drum and went into an altered state, and I asked, what is it that ducks have to show me? Why am I drawn? Why is this most vulnerable animal drawing my attention my entire life? And these words that I read is what I came with. It's their very vulnerability, and they live fearlessly with that. That has something to teach me. Just be myself. Which, takes no small amount of courage when you are looking at a camera and reading about ducks. But maybe it's the most important lesson I've ever learned. Brian says, I sometimes like strength training because mom name Brian means strength in Gaelic. It's a good name for you. Man, you would not have overcome what you did without true strength. And I'm not talking about just, burpee strength or bench press strength, but that inner strength. Brian says also from the old Hercules movies, Steve Reeves. Although both Lou Ferrigno and Arnold played Hercules at one time. Arnold in a really cheap movie, Hercules Goes to New York, and Lou Ferrigno in the 90s, I believe. So, that is ducks. That's the spirituality of ducks. And you know what? I'm going to close up the talk with look around. What is life demonstrating to you? What's nature showing you? It could be anything from the simplicity and the vulnerability and the fearlessness of ducks to sparrows. Maybe tomorrow I'll read about being pecked on the head by a red-winged blackbird last year as I was walking. Just good thing I was wearing a hat. Just swooped down, pecked me on the head to remind me, pay attention. I was a little too close to its home, to its nest. Lost in my own little world, in my own thoughts. And I needed that reminder. In the Zen tradition, when you're meditating, if mind wanders, the Zen master walks over and gives you a smack with a Zen stick. How they know your mind wandered? Because they're Zen masters. You will not find a better Zen master than nature. They will always give you a reminder. They will always teach you something. There's always out there, always something out there that's opening up to you and saying, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Huxley, in his book, was it The Island? The island was filled with parrots. And as you walk by them, the parrots would all say the same thing: pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And I'm not talking about that relentless, put your mind on this type of attention. I'm talking about that wide open, choiceless awareness attention that the world is just speaking to you right now. So this is what the world said to me last year when I wrote about mallards. You know what? If you guys want to write something and share with me what the world is saying to you, I'd absolutely love to hear it and love to read it. Feel free to share your stuff here anytime. Feel free to send it to me and I'll read it. Happy to. We'll read it on the channel. Brian Lane says, let's see. Well, first he says he hasn't ducks today, but maybe in a video. I'm going to post one tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll post one before I go to bed. And also that in a book I'm reading says, anything that isn't present is an idea, which is absolutely true. From memories to projection in the future, it's all just a thought. All of it. The actuality is this moment, what we're doing. Even having a memory of the past in the actuality of this moment is part of the great awareness. Absolutely amazing. Savage Batman says, still here? Thank you, I appreciate it. And Bud Chronicles, hey buddy, how are you? Is here. Bud Chronicles says that was very deep. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think, when we open up and we let nature, we let the moment speak through us, when that happens, I can't take any credit for anything whatsoever. I just get out of the way. There's a greater wisdom than me. Me, I'm not too bright. Anyone who knows me would be the first to, he's got a point there. But we all have that ability to open up to inspiration, to open up to wisdom, to open up to the intelligence of the universe, because we are the very intelligence of the universe itself. We're consciousness. Everything is consciousness. You can't lose. Just be yourself, open up. Let the world, let life speak through you. But says it's more of consciousness, correct? Yep. Brian says there's something to learn from everyone. There certainly is, including ducks. But, I read about something different yesterday. Today I wrote about soul. And not soul in the traditional religious sense, that not that we have a soul, but that everything is soul expressing itself. And we are an expression of that soul. So, guys, with that, I'm going to see everyone tomorrow. Anytime, to anything on any subject. I got 25 years of blog stuff that I've been writing. If there's anything you ever want me to read or talk about, just let me know. As I mentioned before, I teach meditation and breath work basically for a living. So I'm always happy to help anyone. Meditation with some breath work, talking about yoga, all of it. But Chronicles says, amazing stream. Thank you. And Brian says, Peace, everyone. Peace, everyone. Bud Chronicles 420. Have a blessed day. And Bud says, I will keep that noted. I've noticed other videos. Yeah, I put out a lot of content. I'm semi-retired. I was a caregiver for my father, and he passed away. I inherited a house, split the bills with my brother, so I'm living off some savings, taking it easy. You know, you work your entire life. Now's my opportunity to be creative, to live the life of a yogic monk, an artist, inspired, getting out in nature, enjoy myself. Finally. I say finally. I've enjoyed myself my entire life. Even going through my own battles with addiction, even going through depression. Um, it's been one hell of a ride. So that's it for today. But says, okay, Eric, okay, I understand now. Thanks again, guys. We're going to call it a night, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.